All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're unpacking a really important document for the Indian economy, the 2026 Economic Survey. Now, you can think of it as the country's official annual report card. But this isn't just about dry numbers. It's really about the story of how a nation is navigating a pretty turbulent global landscape.
So, what exactly is the Economic Survey? Well, put simply, it's the government's official health checkup for the entire economy. It takes a deep look at the past year, in this case, 2025, 2026, and it figures out what worked, what didn't, and kind of sets the stage for the big union budget that follows.
And that brings us to the big question we're tackling here. In a world that's dealing with a lot of conflict and economic wobbles, how did India actually do? Did it just tread water, or did it manage to find a way to grow? Let's find out.
Okay, let's start with the foundation. To really get the full picture, you've got to look at the big picture numbers first. These are the macroeconomic pillars that tell us just how stable the whole structure really is. And boom, the headline number is a real showstopper. The survey is projecting a GDP growth of 7.4%. Now, to put that into perspective, in a global climate where a lot of major economies are struggling to grow at all, a number like that makes India a major outlier. Now, this slide here tells a really crucial story about financial discipline. So the fiscal deficit, that's basically the gap between what the government earns and what it spends. As you can see, during the peak of the pandemic, that gap just ballooned to a huge 9.2% of GDP. But look at that chart now. It's been wrestled all the way down to 4.4%. Taming this deficit signals really responsible financial management. And believe me, that's exactly what international investors love to see. This next slide shows a really fundamental rebalancing act in how the government gets its income. Before the pandemic, the government relied more on indirect taxes, like the GST you pay on stuff you buy. But now, look at that shift. Direct taxes, so taxes on personal and corporate income, make up 59% of the revenue. So why is this such a big deal? Well, it signals a more formal, a broader, and ultimately a much more stable tax base for the country. Okay, so does all this talk about fiscal discipline and tax shifts actually matter in the real world? Oh, absolutely. As the survey itself points out, it's the key reason that after 18 long years, Standard & Poor's actually upgraded India's sovereign credit rating. That is a massive vote of confidence from the global financial community. So, we have a stable foundation. That's great. But what are the actual engines driving this 7.4% growth we talked about? Let's dive into the specific sectors that are really firing on all cylinders.
The economy is basically powered by three main engines, and we can measure their horsepower using something called gross value added, or GVA. Just think of GVA as a way to see how much value each sector is adding to the party. And as you can see, the services sector is the biggest engine by far, followed by industry and then agriculture. So let's see how each one performed.
The services sector has just been an absolute powerhouse. Growing at 7.2%, it didn't just do well, it completely blew past major economies like China and the US. I mean, look at those numbers. This sector is really the lifeblood of urban India. It's responsible for a staggering 62% of all jobs in the cities. And in the industrial sector, the story is just as dramatic, if not more so. Just take mobile phone manufacturing as an example. A decade ago, as you can see on the timeline, the production value was tiny. Today, it has absolutely exploded by nearly 30 times. That's not just growth, that's a complete transformation of India's manufacturing muscle. Now, agriculture, it provides that super stable foundation for the rural economy. But the real story, the exciting part, is in its allied sectors. As these numbers show, livestock and fishing are growing way faster than traditional crops. And that's a crucial shift, because these sectors are becoming powerful new drivers of income out in the countryside. Okay, a stable base and powerful engines are fantastic for today, but what is India actually building for tomorrow? Our final section looks at the massive investments being pumped into the country's future, its people and its infrastructure. Wow, just look at this chart for a second. Capital expenditure, that's the government spending on long-term assets like roads, ports, and power plants, has just skyrocketed from 3.2 lakh crore rupees to over 15 lakh crore rupees. This isn't just spending for today. This is laying the concrete and steel groundwork for decades of future growth. And you can see the results of that spending everywhere. The national highway network has grown by 60% in just a decade. Airport capacity has literally doubled. But the digital leap, that might be the most incredible part. from just 6 core broadband users to nearly 100 core today. It's like there are two construction booms happening at once, one physical and one digital. And looking even further ahead, the survey points to 3 big new frontiers. First, there's a strategic bet on nuclear energy to get clean, reliable power around the clock. Second, nurturing a booming AI ecosystem, where India has already shot up to become a top 3 hub for generative AI startups. And third, a massive investment in its people, with this really ambitious goal of getting 50% enrollment in higher education by 2035. So when you put it all together, the economic survey paints a picture of a nation with a really solid foundation and some powerful new growth engines just firing up. The story is one of incredible resilience and ambition. But it also leaves us with the most critical question of all. How does India make sure that this incredible momentum isn't just sustainable, but that its benefits actually reach every single person? That, right there, remains the ultimate challenge.